Alright, this is Yalak once again with another lesson in the New Testament is Fake series. This is lesson number 135. It is March 17, 2018. My lesson is titled, Don't Eat Blood Creatures. I want to start off here by reading a scripture from Genesis chapter 2 and verse 9. Which is the original instruction from the Creator who later became known as the God of Israel. This is the best that I can figure it out about what he said about what we should eat. And like the rest of us, many of us, I grew up eating meat. I no longer do that, and I'm happy about that. And that happiness is split between trying to find the Creator and to live by what he says, plus giving my body a better chance to enjoy my time on earth. Even just mentally, knowing that I am coming closer to the Creator's instructions as best as I can figure it out. Even psychologically, that helps me to be a happier person from day to day. And I'm finding out now, as I live longer, that no matter what I go through in life and situations that I can't change are still lurking around and so on, I'm finding out that to be settled inside yourself is a much better way to live. It is more valuable than knowing any scripture from the oldest Bible you can find. Because then the purpose of those Bibles or holy books is to get you to that place, get your heart to that place. So if I'm finding that place in my heart already, then the purpose of the book is already being realized. So let's say if I find a real, like some very, very, very old Bible, like from 800 years ago or 1,000 years ago, and I want to see what it really says, how different it is to what we've got today, and I can't afford it because it probably costs a couple $1,000s for the one book, then in a sense, yes, I'm still going to miss it, but in another sense, I'm really not missing. I'm not missing out. Because its purpose is to get me to a place where I feel like I'm in sync with what the Creator wants. So, in a way, I'm already getting that by trying to change my life based on the things I've already found. The truth is that in a lot of cases, we already have what the Creator has instructed. We already have it, but we just think because of the deception around us that we are so far off. In fact, if people were very far off, the powers that be worldwide would not have spent so much money, billions and trillions of dollars over eons, to scurry themselves around the earth, infiltrating as many different nations and learning as many different cultures as they have, and inserting their people into these governments and lands and so on, and learning about the different cultures of people to get in there so that they can get someone in place to try to change stuff and change the people's beliefs and so on. They wouldn't have done that if people were very far and it was impossible or nearly so for people to really come to the truth of what life is about on earth. But because you are always so close, they have to do so much and work overtime. In some cases, even ruining their marriages, ruining their families because they're so into their work. And why all of that? Because people are very close to what the truth is. Very close. And that is the truth. Just like when they told us for many years from I was a child that we're running out of food on earth. And I grew up to realize, no, food isn't running out on earth. And now think of it, if food is running out on earth, why are they spending so much money trying to poison food? and GMO foods and all that stuff. Because if you're going to run out of food by next month, just to exaggerate it, why bother spend so much more money trying to poison the rest of the food that's going to run out next month? Why not spend it so that you can find a way to survive? Because eventually they're going to run out of food as well. But instead, it's just a big trick, people. The earth renews itself, and the scriptures teach that there is no end to the people of the earth. There is no end. And the truth is everywhere. Even the heavens declare the glory of the Creator, and the firmament shows his handiwork. You think the Creator is going to just make himself be invisible and just disappear from his own earth? You feel somebody is staying in your house, and you try to go there to get it. As you know, sometimes people actually do steal houses, although maybe we don't hear about it as much anymore. And you want to get them out of it. You can just go to the city or get a lawyer and whatever, and just try to deal with the case to get your property back. The Creator greater than all of us made the world that we could not have done if we were able to conceptualize it even. But he's going to let people, mere mortal men, just take away his earth and his glory from him? That's really silly. So now, as I talk about this lesson, don't eat blood creatures, and I'm tying this in with the sacrifices that are in the Torah and the final man sacrifice at Calvary, which is forbidden, because the Most High says sacrificing children didn't even come into my mind, so I would not have instructed you to do that. Having said that, that also means that he would not send his own son to be a sacrifice for you. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 9 tells the food that we're supposed to eat. It says, "And out of the ground made the Creator to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." What this is telling me right here is that he talks about the food from the trees in a way that he does not talk about the animals. He basically lets you know that the moment you just simply see your food, you're going to be able to identify it. You're not going to feel that way and think that way, Adam, about the animals. When you see a dog running by in Eden, or you see a kangaroo, or, you know, whatever animal he's looking at right there, you're not going to just instinctively think right away, I better eat that monkey. But people began to think that after the knowledge of good and evil was activated, based on how the story goes, right? So it would have been unnatural for Adam to eat that kind of stuff. Notice before Eve ate the fruit and gave to him, that there is no sense of them for food consumption gravitating toward eating a hairy horse or dog. You don't get that sense. In fact, if you never ever had the chance to read the rest of the Bible, that wouldn't come into your mind. Just trying to keep the story as pure as possible in your mind. If you were not able to read the rest of it, and this is your first time reading the Bible, that wouldn't come into your mind. But just reading up until this point to Genesis chapter 2 verse 9, knowing nothing else about the Bible, this is the first time you've ever, you would just think that food comes from trees, from what grows on the earth. But you would not, as per the title of my lesson here, be thinking of eating blood creatures. Now, when I think of the Israelite nation with its high priests on holy days, with holy feasts, set apart feasts, eating animals before the Lord thy God, because they said the Lord thy God told the nation of Israel to eat the animals, which goes against his instruction in Genesis chapter 2 verse 9, and Malachi 3:6 is letting us know that the Creator does not change, then that creates a problem in my mind and in yours as well. Because you understand that this teaching is very clear that if he does not change, and he first said the trees will grow your food for you and that's what you should eat, and he does not treat the animals like that in the Genesis story, in Genesis chapter 2 when he's talking about food, then that means something is wrong. It lets him know in Genesis 2 verse 9, if you reread it and look at it, just that one verse, that the moment he sees the food, he makes physical contact or visual contact, that what he sees as food from what the Creator told him, from the trees, he's going to be biologically and even so spiritually attracted to the food. Like if you're a man, when you see a woman you like and you've been around her spending time and you like her, that's the kind of attraction. And if you're a woman, you see a man and you're like, oh, that man's not going to get away from me. And there's an attraction right there. Something is happening in your biological makeup that attracts you to that person. The Creator is then saying to Adam, based on how I made you to be, when you see this food growing on the trees, you will be attracted to it. I have made it attracted to you so that it will call out to your biology. It will transmit signals, so to speak, between you and it. Your body and these fruit will so-called communicate with each other. The food on the tree will not try to pick itself and to try to hurry up, to try to break itself off from its stem, to try to drop on the ground and roll a few miles away to get away from you. Like an animal that you're trying to spear or hunt will try to run from you. Even when you throw the spear in the side of his belly, he might try to run with the spear in his belly because he's getting away from you, because he knows he should not be eaten by you. He should not be eaten by you, so he tries to escape. But the Israelite high priest in the nation of biblical Israel says, let us, in a Torah kind of way, eat, or I should say against Torah, eat that which resists our body. So the fruit on the tree agrees with your body. It connects with your sight, with your vision. There is attraction to you, to the fruit. But the animal tried to escape the priest or escape whatever Israelite man or so was catching that animal to bring it to the priest. The animal tries to escape the person capturing it. In so much so that they had to keep the animal in fenced areas to keep the animal as their possession until the time when they're ready to kill it and eat it before the Lord thy God. So that animal had to be quarantined by human hands, boxing in the animal, where when the Creator made it, the animal never knew fences, just to keep that animal until the next high holy day. So the capturing of the animal and the keeping and the killing of the animal seems to me to be antithetical to the whole picture of food consumption in the opening chapters of the Torah. Hello. But the Creator says in Genesis 2:9, made the Creator to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. And he puts it even in one sentence, and good for food. Now, the word pleasant here, kamad, in the Hebrew for pleasant, when it says the food is pleasant to the sight, it means to desire, covet, take pleasure in, delight in. So what he's saying is the moment you see this food, you are going to desire it. So if nobody is there to teach you any extra special lessons about it, you are just going to desire it. You are going to be drawn to it. Now, people desire animal meat today. They desire pork or desire chicken or desire whatever kind of meat, lamb, for those of you who think it is holy to eat. They desire it because damage already happened in the Garden of Eden once they took off the tree and kicked out and so on. So just because you desire something does not mean it is good or it is right or it is according to the instruction of the Creator. People live based on what they desire, but the Creator can still be upset about it. Look at this in the life of Israel. Jeremiah chapter 44 verse 4. It says, "Howbeit I sent unto you all my servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, saying, Oh, do not this abominable thing that I hate." Why were they doing these things? Because they had a desire in their heart to do it. They were drawn away and they want to do it, but the Creator said no. So just to desire something does not mean that it is right to do. Look at Jeremiah 7 verse 25. "Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day I have even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them." Why? Because the people were living according to their own desires and not according to the instructions of the Creator. So, just because you are desiring something doesn't necessarily mean it's right. It should be in line with what the Creator said. Now, I thought about this last week, and I thought to myself, let's say you work for a newspaper company, and we know how newspapers are, they're going out of style, so to speak, because of the internet age now. You're reading your news online. But let's say you work for a newspaper company, and you're supposed to get some article done by Friday evening before you leave so they can get it printed out for Saturday morning or the weekend or something like that, or for Monday morning. Well, let's say for Saturday morning they want to put out that paper. And you didn't want to do it because you don't have your priorities right. Your head isn't screwed on properly. Just like the Israelites in the Torah, their head weren't screwed on properly a lot of times either. So they did whatever. And so it is, you did whatever as well. And you decided, Friday evening, but I can't stay back because I need to get home early, pick up a few of my friends, and get ready to go party Friday night. So you decide, you're just not going to do it. Boss is going to be mad, but you are unruly like the children of Israel. So it's no big deal to you. So you just don't do it. You leave work early Friday without getting it done. But you decided, I'll just do something extra when I get in Monday morning. That's like how the children of Israel said, well, we're not going to do what you say, but we'll just offer another sacrifice on the next high holy days. And you see, that's trickery that the New Testament uses. The New Testament teachers use to say, well, it was just rolled back until the sacrifice. But the perfect sacrifice was at Calvary, and those sacrifices never did any good. It was just a down payment or deposit while waiting for the real sacrifice at Calvary, when there should have been no such sacrifice in the first place, whether in the New Testament or Old Testament. So it is, there should have been no putting off of the article that you needed to write, which is the same way as saying it would not be acceptable by your boss to not have that article done. And it is also not acceptable just because you do a sacrifice on Monday morning when you come in to make up for what you lost. So you say you're going to write 2 articles instead just to impress the boss because you got that other one done and it didn't get printed for Saturday morning, but they can still use it for the next week, and you wrote him an extra article as well. But you keep repeating that over and over, and so you might do an extra article sometimes, but there's a lot of missed deadlines, especially when important stories come out. They can't wait for your story to be written the following week because it's stale. Now they're losing ratings in the newspaper, and other newspapers are picking up ahead of them and so on. They're losing ratings because you're one of their best writers and you keep slacking off. You can offer another sacrifice with an extra article, or you just say, somebody sees you at the party Friday night and you're like, hey, did you finish that article? And I'm like, no, but yeah, I'll take care of it Monday morning. The boss gets in Monday morning upset because they had to run the paper Saturday morning without that article, and they had to try to find something else of lesser importance to the public to put in there, and it didn't sell as much papers. Then you tell the boss, yeah, I know I missed it, sorry, but I offered a sacrifice this morning when I came in. This is Monday morning. Now you're telling me, yeah, I offered a sacrifice, basically to put it in Bible kind of way, right? You're like, I helped the truck guy load up the papers on the truck Monday morning, this morning when I came in. Yeah, you might have helped him load up the truck, but that's not your job, and the boss isn't looking for that. He's looking for the articles that you should write. So you're missing all the deadlines all the time. You're screwing up the paper and so on. They're losing money. They're not selling as well, and you're one of their best writers. The public doesn't like to miss you. They're sending in emails complaining that what happened. This writer is probably getting ready to leave the company or what. People like their favorite writers and so on. So you put them in a bad spot, but you offer a sacrifice. It doesn't cut it. Your sacrifice is there Monday morning, but there is still a problem that is not solved. So you can't say, I'll fix it later with Calvary, or I'll fix it Monday morning by doing something extra, or write 2 articles. The fix is to do it right from the first, which is like the fix is just to live by the Most High's instructions and not to try to offer any animal sacrifices while you wait for Calvary, which means you never ever fix the problem yourself, because an animal tries to fix it with his own body, but your body never lives right before the Most High. And then Christ comes and he attempts to fix something with his body. So your body as an Israelite never fixes anything in your relationship with the Most High. You have never learned to live right before the Creator. And you call yourself an Israelite setting an example for the rest of the world? You cannot set an example. You have never shown the world or the Creator that you have lived right, because you have never done it. An animal attempted to do it for you, and his so-called son attempted to do it for you in Calvary. You are never in a position as Israel to fix anything before the Most High, to demonstrate to him or to the world, hey, we can show you how to live because we have lived right all these thousands of years. The world will say, you have never done that. An animal did something. Christ did something on Calvary, but you have never. So how are you going to teach us something and you don't know what it is to live it? Because you have never been holy. You have never been set apart. What you have done is to offer blood sacrifices, but not live as a daily sacrifice from the Most High in your heart, where you cut off evil living, transgression, iniquity, and so on out of your life, where you sacrifice or kill those things, because the sacrifice is to kill. So you have never sacrificed the iniquity in your heart by cutting it off from your heart, cutting it off from your life. You have never done that. You are not an Israelite. You are a heathen. So the Most High called you by your title eventually. He said, you are heathen unto me. Get out of my land. So he sent you to live with the rest of the heathen. Now, a lot of us might have known of the late Dr. Sebi, who taught a lot about eating proper kinds of food, right? And I haven't listened to him much, but I should probably listen to him some more, and I will. But at least I know he was talking about certain greeneries and so on that you should eat, and the fruits, rather. At least I know that he talked about eating fruits. Now, if it's funny, if he was living back in ancient Israel, You're telling me that this man who shows how it is unhealthy and detrimental to your whole makeup to eat meat and the problems that it causes in the body, he's going to stand before an Israelite high priest and eat animals before the Creator, eat a lamb and an ox and so on before the Creator. This man understands from the knowledge and the wisdom of the Creator, and as a doctor as well, that the meat from the animal will damage his body. So he has that in his mind as a confirmed thing in his mind, that this is what it will do to your body. And he is going to eat with purity of mind in front of the Most High, the meat that's set before him. There would be no worship from his heart to the Most High, pushing that meat in his mouth, between his teeth, ripping it. Because that is not worship. There is no purity there, nothing like that. When the man knows this is deadly to my body. So would Dr. Sebi, and the destroyed ones of us will say, yes, he would have to eat it on Passover day. You see, sometimes we just have to think things through. And a lot of us are not able to think a lot of things properly for ourselves. Because the moment our mind starts to work on its own for ourselves, it's time for the next Sabbath meeting or the next video from the deceivers who teach you. And because they have the stronghold over your mind, like the New Testament talks about the stronghold, which to me is your teachers, then they knock you back into place. Because whenever you belong to a group, they make you do what they say, even though they went to the same school as you or they worked at the same job as you. They were kicking ball with you the same way when you were children, in some cases. But all of a sudden they've become mighty and glorious more than you, to the point where you cannot have your own mind anymore. So religious views make you do whatever they say, and they used to show up at the same doctor with you. And all of a sudden, just because they bought a bigger Bible and they bought a microphone before you did, all of a sudden, you cannot have a mind anymore. Even though the Creator gave you your own mind. Their religious views make you not think for yourself. But I'm telling you here, think for yourself. Something was wrong with Calvary and wrong with the sacrifices in the Old Testament. Look at this at Jeremiah 29 verse 19. Because they have not hearkened to my words, saith the Creator, which I sent unto them by my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them, but ye would not hear, saith the Most High. See how many times that's showing up? It's right there in Jeremiah 29:19, Jeremiah 44:4, Jeremiah 7:25. It keeps being repeated. Because it is important for you to understand what it is saying. That people, even if they claim to follow God, are often doing their own thing. So then, I have a simple way to help you think of this. If people in general are just living, who say they know the Creator, are just living however they want, for the Creator to be getting up, sending people all the time, it's telling you that most of what they did in the scriptures was wrong. They did it a lot. There was abundance to it, frequency to it. So most of what you read in the scriptures are wrong. Like maybe like the history and so on, those things are different, but the practices were often, might I use the word, demonic. It was of evil. So if they had a lot of sacrifices, you must investigate that for yourself. Don't just let me be the one to just tell you. While I have to do it as a part of my conviction, as a part of my job, you must look into it for yourself and learn apart from. Go to less of your meetings from the groups that you are in. until you can learn to think for yourself while you are with them in their group. If you can't think for yourself and feel your own body, feel your own mind at work, feel the sensations of what thoughts do to you, then you are in touch with groups way too much. Groups have removed your individuality, your uniqueness, your identity. You only have a group identity. You are a Christian, you are an Israelite, you are a this, you are a that. But you are not a person anymore. You have no mind left. You have the mind of your group. Many of us have lost touch with ourselves. Now some say a lot of diseases, or probably most diseases, start in the colon. And meat eating makes it worse. And it's probably often the cause of it anyway. Some say. Now you can look it up to see if that's true or not. I've heard this from people who do a lot of natural cleansing for the body and teaching you to eat better food that doesn't include the animals. So look into it and see if that comes up. Now the next thing is, look at the color of milk. I was shocked when I saw this. The color of milk that you love to drink, you buy a bag milk or box milk from the supermarket. The real color of milk is like reddish, something like that. Yellow, reddish, more reddish, brownish, something like that. Because it's filled with a lot of pus and blood. But the Israelites still drinks this and they eat the animal that puts the blood into the milk, and then they turn around and say they're still set apart, even though the Creator says, don't eat anything with the blood in it. Leviticus 19 verse 26, ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment nor observe times. Another version, New International Version, says, do not eat meat with blood still in it. Do not practice divination or seek omens. This here is kind of like saying, because the excuse is, yeah, well, we drain out the blood so we can eat the lamb. And I've told you before, that means don't even eat the lamb because it has blood in it. So what the Creator is saying is, don't have anything to do with eating that kind of stuff. It's like, don't practice divination or seek omens. Or don't practice fortune telling or witchcraft. But you're like, well, it's not fortune telling, it's just tarot cards. Or it's not fortune telling, it's just my horoscope. When the thing is all a part of the same package. So you get as close as you can to it without doing the thing you feel. When it's all a part of the same package. It's like when you look at the commandments, then you say, well, you read the 10 commandments and you don't do this one, so you're all right. When really, the point of all the commandments is not to get you simply, I mean, the point of it is to get you to change yourself to being like the Creator wants you to be overall. So you say, well, I'm all right because I keep 9. But He's trying to get you to change completely. So all of the commandments are all in the same package of living right before the Most High. Now when He says, don't eat anything with the blood, we have been taught erroneously that it means don't consume the blood. Yeah, it means that too. But He is really saying, don't eat anything with blood. So if it has blood, you are not allowed to eat it, period. So you cannot take the blood out of it and say, now I can eat it. He says, don't eat anything that comes with blood in it. And so if you're digging into the Torah, you understand that what He's saying is don't consume anything with blood in it. So you see an animal that has blood in it and he's got 2 eyes looking upon you, and you kill that and eat it. Something that had 2 eyes in its head like you. The Creator said, don't eat anything with blood in it. So the person who is following the Torah properly, who's not trying to dissect the Torah to find ways to use and maneuver words according to the knowledge of good and evil, will not try to dissect, to go into it to find out how he can eat that animal if he just takes out the blood. But the person who is dissecting the Torah to try to find their way closer to the Creator will see that that animal has blood, and so he will not eat the animal, period. He will not have anything to do with consuming that animal in any way, because it already had something forbidden in it. It had blood, and the Creator says, don't. So he goes and he eats the food that the Creator said that was pleasant to the eyes, good to look at. You are attracted to the food when you see it. Not an attraction based on corrupted ways of living that now lets you be attracted to an animal to eat it, but an attraction that existed when things were in a pristine condition, before there was transgression on earth. That attraction is the attraction built into you by the Creator. That is the attraction to get back to. And so just because there is another attraction now that attracts you to other kinds of stuff to eat, that's just the flip side of attraction that shows you the knowledge of good and evil is at working. There's an attraction that comes from what the Creator said at first before there was transgression. But if the knowledge of good and evil has flipped it, now that attraction switches over to that beast there. I'm attracted to that. Just like when people first started eating other people, like cannibals. First we were attracted to eating the fruit from the trees. But somewhere along the line, someone got attracted to eating a man. You say, oh, I look at that lamb, that cow, that goat, that donkey, that horse. I want to eat that. It's the same way somebody came along one day and saw that man or that woman or that child and said, I want to eat him, I want to eat her. Because attraction went haywire. And the Israelite priests of biblical times ignored all of this, but me with my limited knowledge of the Torah can sit and figure it out in 2018. But the Hebrews, who had the older form of Hebrew language, they didn't know this. Tell me, how wise were they? They were not wise. In fact, they were so unwise that the Most High said they are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of wisdom. They were not wise. And you still got unwise people teaching you today the Torah. If the Creator said they are not wise, He's telling you something had changed. You are getting a lot of unwise teachings in today's world, and it started a long time ago from biblical times. Just because it's written on the pages of your book does not mean there is full truth to it. One of the biggest discoveries you can make is when you understand that not all that is written is true. One of the biggest discoveries you can make is when you understand that not all that is written is true. So when you look at the color of real milk, go look it up online, watch some YouTube videos, or look it up on the internet search engine. Real color of milk is like red, filled with blood and pus. So the Most High says, don't eat anything with the blood in it. And a lot of Israelites out there are drinking milk that they bleached and processed it and bleached it to get it to look white. So you're not eating pork, but you're drinking blood inside the milk. But it looks white because they bleached it. They bleached the blood. Calvary is a deception. All these sacrificial practices from the Old Testament, where flesh of humans or children or animals were done, they were just a build-up to Calvary to set the stage for the final deception. It's a deception. So if he says don't eat anything with the blood in it, you say, well, we can just drain out the blood. But you notice they drain out the blood still in one way by draining out the blood, but in another way it gets drained out in the milk because it passes out of the body in the milk. And they bleach it to hide it from you until you study and learn it. So they're not letting you get off for free. You must consume blood. That's basically what I'm understanding. One of the things I will investigate as time goes on, I've thought of it for a while now, but I just never got around to it. But I will. Actually, I did start to investigate it, and so far, I think I'm onto something here. I am not yet convinced, and I really want you to take this seriously. I am not convinced that you can remove all traces of blood from a flesh body, whether it's animal or human. But let's go with the animal here now. Because the blood is still going to be in it, even the way the blood gets in the milk. Even blood comes into a mother's milk sometimes, from her breast feeding a newborn child. You drain out an animal, but the traces of blood are still in the body. Remember, if the life of the flesh is in the blood, then the blood actually sustains the life. It keeps alive. The whole body interacts with the whole body. The blood flows everywhere because the blood is supposed to be all throughout the body. And I can just imagine, but I have to search it out. And I'm going to do it and come back with a lesson one day. It's not going to be anything soon, though, because I've put it on the back burner. But I'll say to you so you can look into it if you choose to. Because you got to dig into Torah, right, to understand it by going through all these things. But the blood is going to be in your skin. The blood gives life to everything in your body. So blood is going to do something to make your teeth grow. Blood is going to do something to make your brain operate. Blood is going to do something to make electrical impulses happen in your brain and in your heart, in your body and everything. That means even the impulses, the electrical impulses in your body, they are touching the blood. The sound waves are touching and interacting with the blood in your body. Everything. Because of your blood, your nails grow. Because of your blood, your hair grows. Because these things cannot grow if they have no life. And if the life of the flesh is in the blood, then the blood is carrying the life to all these parts of the body. So the blood has something even spiritual about it. Somehow the blood is in contact with everything that is you. Don't consume anything that has blood in it. Leviticus 19:26. I'll get back to you with that lesson one day. Let's move on from this milk part now. It's clear to me, though, that disobedient human beings, which in this case, for this lesson, would be the Israelite nation and the Israelite high holy priests, were eating the beasts of the earth against their own laws, their own Levitical laws, not to consume anything with the blood in it. They were like pagan priests before the Creator. No wonder he was disgusted all the time with them. He was so enraged that he kept saying, from the day you came out of Egypt, I had a problem with you. Because from the day they came out, they wanted to go and sacrifice. You don't remember that? Moses said, let us go sacrifice. Let us go do what? You don't see how funny that story is? I thought about that for a while, and yesterday it came back to me. They loved bull sacrifice and so on in Egypt. And Moses and the church of Israel are in Egypt. And they're supposed to be a set-apart nation, so they should act different, do stuff different. And he says, let us go so we can sacrifice to our God. They're going to go and sacrifice their own bull to their God. when Egypt already has bulls in it and are doing bull sacrifices. In fact, their bulls were treated like almost like kings, like royalty. Look at this article here from ancient.eu, and the article is titled Herodotus on Animal Sacrifice in Egypt. The article is by Thamis, Thamis, published January 18, 2012. It says here, the males of the ox kind they consider to belong to Epaphus, and on account of him they test them in the following manner. If the priest, we're talking about the priest of Egypt now, sees one single black hair upon the beast, he counts it not clean for sacrifice, and one of the priests who is appointed for the purpose makes investigation of these matters, both when the beast is standing upright and when it is lying on its back. And he goes on to tell how they're inspecting the ox. If they see one little thing wrong. Now they go on down a little bit more. They lead the sealed beast to the altar where they happen to be sacrificing, and then kindle a fire. After that, having poured libations of wine over the altar so that it runs down upon the victim, notice that they call it a victim because there's no love going on here, and having called upon the god, they cut its throat. And having cut its throat, they sever the head from the body. The body of the beast they flay upon the head. They make many imprecations first, and then they who have a market and go on. I don't need more of that. So Moses says, let us go so we can go sacrifice to our God. We'll go into the wilderness, we'll go sacrifice. What is different here? Why does Moses have to leave Egypt, the place of sacrifice, to go someplace else to do the same kind of sacrifice where they're inspecting the animals as well? The same way Egypt was inspecting them. It's nothing different. I've told you before, these sacrifices of animals and of children and humans are the same as all the heathen nations around him. And Moses says, do not do as the Egyptians do. But Moses wants to leave to go and do what the Egyptians are doing with sacrificing oxes. Are you ready to talk to your teachers yet and ask them some serious questions where you don't take rubbish for answers anymore? Or are you too much in your Hebrew Israelite religion? Because this is a religion. And I'm still named with it. You see, I'm noticing by rereading the scriptures that there are some serious problems with the scriptures. Really. Now, I know a lot of people, when they find out certain stuff, they're like, oh, I'm not with the Hebrew Israelite community anymore. And they're gone now. Why denounce being a Hebrew Israelite and stuff like that? I don't need to do that. Why? Because where am I going to go? Tell me. What? Everything else is a deception on earth. Everything. Where are you going to go? But at least with the Torah, I find a lot of things that are truthful, and it helps me at least to work through things a whole lot better and to search for the Creator with more desire and clarity than I ever did before. I just have to weed out the stuff. Like I said, Torah is embedded within Torah. The real Torah is in there. You just got to strip away the fluff from the outside, the added on Torah, which I call the given Torah or the public Torah. But the real Torah is embedded inside of the public Torah. And it's you who have to search to find it if you really want to find the Creator. That's the test. That is the test. And the people who did these things to the Torah, they know it's a test, but they also know only few will find it. That's the truth. They know it. You're telling me, and I'm just supposing now, you're telling me that if Egypt made the Torah And Egypt is sacrificing bulls. And then the Torah ends up saying, let's go sacrifice bulls as well. That Egyptians aren't looking, saying, they're doing the same thing as us. So why can't you as Israelites saying, we're doing the same thing as them? So if you are having to say that, we're doing the same thing as the Egyptians, why are you bothering to read the part of the same scriptures that says, don't do as the Egyptians do? Why don't you rip that out of your Bible? Because it would be wrong to treat your Bible like that, right? So the same way you keep it in your Bible, you keep it in your heart. You do as the Egyptians do. And it doesn't bother you that you are disobeying the scriptures that says, don't do as the Egyptians do. But you're looking forward to go back to Jerusalem, right? To bring Egypt into Jerusalem. Are you set apart? Or are you set apart unto evil? Basically, the scripture is teaching, don't eat blood creatures. Nothing with the life in it, with the blood in it. Because the blood gives life. So the moment you find a way around the Torah to go and extract or drain out the blood out of it so that you can eat it, you have now come up with a dead creature. So you're going to sacrifice a dead creature, put a dead creature rather into your body. So you curse the people who are of the congregation of the dead, but your own body has become an actual sepulcher where you put a dead creature inside of you and you are not pagan. That's what you convince yourself about. You have imbued death. You have brought death inside of your body, which should be a body of life because the blood still flows in you. And if the blood gives life, like the scripture is saying, why are you doing something that is anti-creation, anti-Torah, by putting a dead beast into your body because you just killed him? You drain out his blood like you're in some religious lab, and then you eat his body that is dead and say you are now ready for the next Sabbath meeting to teach your growing, thriving group that's paying you all kinds of weekly and monthly money for your new Israelite camp. And you're going to use that money to start another branch or another website. You're on Ustream, you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, you're on everywhere you can go. And you got all of that from teaching the doctrines of demons. And then you get upset when people find these things out. The problem with Hebrews is that most of them have an abject fear of anything that sounds different. If the Most High told you that you became heathen, He's then telling you you became different. So in order to find Him again, don't you have to be different from what you see around you right now? Don't you have to have teachings that are different from what is common around you right now? So if most Israelite Torah teachers are teaching you these sacrifice things, and we should get ready to go back to Jerusalem to offer another sacrifice and offer a sacrifice in the wilderness and so on, third temple, shouldn't you be different from that? You fear too much people who sound different. That is your problem. Really, you got to think about that. Look at these websites here. World Health Organization and UN recommend populations eat plant-based diets. This is from vegsource.com, vegsource.com. And this one is from May 16, 2010. Households should select predominantly plant-based diets rich in a variety of vegetables and fruits, pulses or legumes, and minimally processed starchy staple foods. Says who? Say experts from the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in a landmark report. Quoting the report, it goes on here, populations should consume nutritionally adequate and varied diets based primarily on foods of plant origin with small amounts of added flesh foods. Okay, all right, so that's what they're going on, they're saying right there. Now, if they mean flesh foods like the meat, well, of course, I don't eat that and I wouldn't tell you that. But at least you can see that they're saying that there is a difference when you eat plant-based. Now let's look up another one here. This is from theguardian.com. UN urges global move to meat and dairy-free diet. Meat-free diet and dairy-free diet. It says, a global shift towards a vegan diet is vital to save the world from hunger, fuel poverty, and the worst impacts of climate change, a UN report said today. As the global population surges towards a predicted 9.1 billion people by 2050, Western tastes for diets rich in meat and dairy products are unsustainable, says a report from United Nations Environment Programs, UNEP. It says impacts from agriculture are expected to increase substantially due to population growth, increasing consumption of animal products. Unlike fossil fuels, it is difficult to look for alternatives people have to eat. A substantial reduction of impacts would only be possible with a substantial worldwide diet change away from animal products. Professor Edgar Hertwich, the lead author of the report, said, animal products cause more damage than producing construction minerals such as sand or cement, plastic or metals. Biomass and crops for animals are as damaging as burning fossil fuels. I'll read one last one here on this website. And this is from pcrm.org, titled Meat Consumption and Cancer Risk. It says the World Health Organization has determined that dietary factors account for at least 30% of all cancers in Western countries and up to 20% in developing countries. When cancer researchers started to search for links between diet and cancer, one of the most noticeable findings was that people who avoided meat were much less likely to develop the disease, cancer they're talking about. Large studies in England and Germany showed that vegetarians were about 40% less likely to develop cancer compared to meat eaters. In the United States, researchers studied Seventh-day Adventists, a religious group that is remarkable because although nearly all members avoid tobacco and alcohol and follow generally healthful lifestyles, about half of the Adventist population is vegetarian, while the other half consume modest amounts of meat. The fact allowed scientists to separate the effects of eating meat from other factors. Overall, these studies show significant reductions in cancer risk among those who avoided meat. In contrast, Harvard studies showed that daily meat eaters have approximately 3 times the colon cancer risk compared to those who rarely eat meat. And remember I said earlier that some people say who eat healthy by, not eating meat, I guess, that most diseases start in the colon and that's caused by meat. The meat just lodges in there and just does whatever. That's why you hear all this stuff about doing a colon cleanse, because the stuff lodges in there. If you're eating meat, it stays in there, rots in your colon. It rots in your colon, and that's what causes the cancer. Okay, I think I'll stop there. You can read the rest of the article. So basically, my attempt here is to show with these kinds of videos that something is wrong with the killing and eating of animals. It causes damage to the body. It's a less healthy way to eat, as some world study organizations that aren't even biblical are pointing out. And they aren't trying to teach doctrine from this. They're just doing their investigations and their polls and so on, and they're noting these things. So the World Health Organization is telling you this stuff. And all of this stuff, the Israelite nation from the scriptures with its holy high priest who should be next to God, they're condoning these things. And all of this animal eating and animal sacrifice stuff is all spiritualized in the New Testament as a better way. Even though they carried out the physical sacrifice of that supposed spiritually better way by killing the so-called Son of the Creator on Calvary. That sacrifice on Calvary is as it was just not given by the Creator, the same way the sacrifices in the Old Testament are not given by the Creator. Why is the Creator going to give you all these laws and statutes? And you'll come and say, well, he says, I'll give you statutes that are not good. So if he's giving you something that are not good, that's not good, you go and do it? He's telling you it's not good. So he gives you something that's not good, and you say, oh, I love it, give me more. Make more laws, oh my God, my Yahweh, give me more laws like this that's not good, so I may love you more. You'd be saying that because you are destroyed in the mind, lack of knowledge, and so you are destroyed. You're an idiot in your mind. If the Creator is saying, God of Israel is saying, I'm going to give you laws and statutes that's not good, shouldn't you more as the Israelite nation have repented and said, oh gee, wow, if you're going to switch like that, we must have really gone way too far. We're sorry. We'll change. We'll get back to your commandments. If there's any more giving of law, let it be something that's good and beneficial and helpful to us. Something that will help us draw closer to you. But the Israelite doesn't do that. They're like, oh, laws and statutes that's not good? Pile them on. Let us do them.